Hello and welcome to the Red Room. Today is an interview, so we have a guest. The guest is Marcus, or Marcus Exelius, as is known on the internet. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Good morning or good afternoon.
Yeah, it's afternoon here. It's 3 o'clock.
Well, I think for most people that watch the show, it's morning.
Yeah, in the US, it's morning, right? It's 10 o'clock where you are. Is that so?
Yes, 10 o'clock.
So it's not too early.
Not too bad.
Okay, so welcome, welcome, and thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start talking about your work. I don't know if we have everything you've done, but we have a few things. I'm going to start by showing the covers. So here's Colony of Death, weird fantasy role-playing in 17th century Maryland. Then The Doom That Came to Chapman Farm. There's a problem when we have the background image.
Yeah.
Things disappear. So this is a scenario for Colony of Death and The Place of the Skull. This is also a scenario, but I think it's somewhere else. It's not in Maryland, right?
Right.
It's fantasy.
Yeah.
There's also the Lagomorphs, but we have that one.
Yeah, and
PDF,
I need to get that one on paper because I want to use that one.
What are we missing besides these ones?
The Witch Shack, and then the new one is a timeline of the 17th century that I just
Oh yeah,
yeah, those we have, but
PDF.
on PDF. Yeah,
That one I bought on Big Geek Emporium. That's that was what, a couple of weeks ago. You released that one
about a month ago or so.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
the other one I don't think I have the other one. The other one you mentioned.
Which check I have.
Oh yeah, okay. So
That's the thing. I buy some things and then he goes. We have to tell each other what we buy. Because if not, we both buy it.
yeah, so it's are they all in print?
Yeah, you can get them all at Lulu in print form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think I thought it was just the four.
I got all 6 of them over there.
But not on drive-through, right?
No, I got them all on drive-through. They're all on Big Geek Emporium, that itch.io, however you say it, and Lulu. So they're all up on all of the various platforms.
Which is the one that works that you think works better for you? So which one you sell most?
Mostly, since I've started doing this, it's been drive-through and Lulu. The only reason I went with Lulu for the print is because I couldn't figure out how to get drive-throughs print options to work. They wanted too many specifics on the PDF, but Lulu accepted it. So I've been selling the PDFs over there and the print over on Lulu. I
had that same problem, though I eventually figured it out. But that's strange because I was using what's it called?
Template,
yeah, from drive-through, and it was easier to get Lulu to accept some book. I don't know which was it. Probably Wretched Bastards. Using the drive-throughs template, then to get drive-through to accept its own template. So it's a bit strange. They have too many restrictions. Yeah,
agreed. And Lulu, I'd been using Lulu already just to print my own stuff, so I was familiar with how it worked, and I just kept using it.
Yeah, I think the quality is finer, but I've heard people saying that they use the same printers, but for some reason, perhaps Lulu has more options. Probably that's probably the reason. Should have a cat attacking me.
And then if Big Geek Emporium gets the print option, I'll do it over there too.
They already have it, but it's kind of strange. It's not a direct approach. You have to do a certain number of steps. So I'm not sure. I tried it once, but Well, it's through Lulu anyway, so it's not a direct thing. It's just a link to Lulu.
Oh,
But I didn't use it because I already have the stuff on Lulu, so I
yeah.
guess it won't make it easier anyway. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about yourself also. So when did you start role playing?
I started role playing probably 30 years ago, like 1990 or 91, something like that. And I started with my uncle showed me how to play Call of Cthulhu, and I just used those rules to make characters because I wasn't allowed to play D&D because that's evil and of the devil, because that was the day back in the day. So I played Cthulhu instead because, you know, my mom didn't know what Cthulhu was. I was able to play
Yeah,
that.
that's ironic.
That's kind of strange.
Yeah. So I didn't get into D&D until like 2000 when like D&D third edition came out. And then it's only been in the last 3 years that I kind of discovered the OSR. So I'm getting to play all this old D&D and OSR stuff that I never got to do when I was a teenager. So it's all like rediscovering it all over again. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's unusual, I think. Most people that started at that time probably started with Dungeons and Dragons. I also started with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and I was of the age. I should have been playing like second
Yeah, of course.
edition back in the
Yeah.
90s, but I wasn't allowed to. So
Yeah, that's what I played also. I started with Dungeons and Dragons, but I didn't play it that much. I started with Dungeons and Dragons because there was a Portuguese translation at the time, but it was just the basic box, so I played it for a while, and then I bought Advanced Dungeons and Dragons second edition. That was the one that was popular at the time in the early 90s, right?
yeah, I think so. And I remember my uncle had these books. I wanted to play it. It was fascinating to me, but you know, that was evil and I couldn't mess with it till I was older. And then, like I said, I was playing Call of Cthulhu and a lot of Star Wars D6 back in the mid 90s.
Yeah, I played those too. Those were great. Anyway, it was a good way to start.
So it was the OSR that brought you back to D&D.
I guess since I didn't get enough fantasy fix when I was a kid, I always still wanted to play D&D. But third edition was a little bit, you know, that's when Wizards took it over. There were so many books coming out all the time. I kind of got sick of it. And then when fifth edition came out, I wanted to try it again, and we did that. And then I got sick of fifth edition. So then when I found Lamentations and Osric and Swords and Wizardry, all those OSR retro clones, you know, it's like I'm playing all kinds of D&D fantasy. You can do whatever you want with it, but that's kind of what got me back into it. I always wanted to play D&D, just the editions I got into, third edition and fifth edition, I kind of got sick of them. But now I'm, like I said, I'm like rediscovering the BX style and first edition and OD&D, and I never got to play them. So it's all new to me, kind of. It's kind of new, but it's also, I've known about it and been around role playing my whole life. But mostly I've always played Call of Cthulhu or their systems derivatives.
But you chose Lamentations to write your own scenarios. Is that a preference for the game or just for other reasons?
Yeah, just that was the first one the first retro clone I discovered. Like the art and the mature content is what kind of, you know, drug me in. And then the system is so smooth and it's a good version of the BX system, and I just like it. It's really smooth. I like the 1600s time period, and I just decided to try to use that system. It's very simple and intuitive and easy to use.
I guess if you came from Call of Cthulhu and those darker games,
yeah,
it makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Most of the fantasy games aren't that dark.
Yeah, and I always liked the historical aspect of Call of Cthulhu, like the 1920s, or we tried different eras and stuff, but I'd never done anything in the 1600s. But Lamentations kind of covers that same thing. You get the historical feel, you get the Lovecraftian stuff is in there as well.
I like that about Lamentations, that you have the fantasy, but at the same time you have the horror and that historical setting that is realistic, right? More or less.
Yeah.
It can be, at least.
The timeline for Lamentations, that's usually the 17th century. It's a little bit strange for us. That's a century where I wouldn't put anything. Probably because you're Portuguese, and at the time it wasn't particularly interesting. We basically jumped that century when studying history. Part of the century, Portugal didn't exist. It was a Spanish colony, so probably that's one of the reasons. In the US, it's I suppose it's an interesting period. What interests you most for writing about it, about the 17th century?
Well, at first, like I said, I didn't know anything about the 16th century. And one day I was driving home across the border into Maryland, and I saw one of these little historical signs, and it said Maryland had been settled in 1632. And I'm like, hey, that's the time period. So then I started looking into the history of the state. And it's pretty interesting. Like, before there was ever a US, there were these colonies for like a good 200 years doing stuff. So I started looking into the time period, and there wasn't really much going on over here either, except, it's all wilderness and Native Americans everywhere. But I started digging into it and found, when I did Colony of Death, I was like, I'm going to throw in the cryptids and the folklore stuff to kind of beef it up and give you something to do, because otherwise it's just catching diseases and starving and dying.
And witches, well, I don't know if witches would fit on their time period, at least in Maryland.
Yeah, there's did you say witches?
Witches, yes.
Yeah, there's some talk about witches, but so I just tried to, that's where I had to go a little bit not historically accurate. I just started throwing stuff in there that would make sense for the time period. But the more I learn about it, the more interesting it is. I think Raggy says, it's like there's war going on, diseases. It's a horrible time to be alive. So might as well throw some adventurers in there and do some crazy stuff. But the more I learn about it, the more I get into setting stuff in the 1600s.
So you are from Maryland?
Actually, I'm from West Virginia, but I've been living in Maryland for the last 10 years. So I just like looking into the local history and stuff like that is interesting to me anyway. So it made sense to dig into my local history to work on a project that way is more personal to me. And, I knew some more of the local legends and folklore and stuff like that.
So this one is a setting as well. It
Yeah.
starts with some historical background about the colony of Maryland. There's a timeline, right? Which starts with Captain John Smith exploring the Chesapeake Bay, and it goes to the 1650, right? 1650.
Yeah, that's set it right in the middle of the century. That way, it's kind of right in the middle of everything.
Yeah, the diseases is a couple of pages. Is the disease rules are these rules in Lamentations, or you came up with them?
Yeah, those are Lamentations. I based all that on Lamentations rules, but yeah, the diseases, I just kind of, if there was something for it, I used it. If there wasn't, I made it up.
So tell us a little bit about this book, the Colony of Death, and the folklore that you used for this, because I suppose some of these things are local folklore. Well, Sasquatch I know, but yes. I don't know the other ones.
The ones that were specific to Maryland was the Schnellergeist, or the Snallygaster, is supposed to be this big winged, like a pterodactyl thing with tentacles coming out of its face, and it would steal people and livestock. And then the Hexenwolf, they're supposed to be like this werewolf type thing that fought the Snallygaster. Of course, this is all like, weird folklore stuff. And I think in the 1800s, they did an article, and Teddy Roosevelt was going to come down here and hunt the Snallygaster, or, you know, if anybody had any proof that it existed. So people believed in it for a time. And then the Snarly Yow, that's a local big dog legend. And then I just threw in stuff like, you know, while I was doing my research, I found out that there used to be buffalo and gray wolves around here. So I threw stuff like that in, the more mundane animals and creatures. And then there's some Mygo from Lovecraft. I threw that in there. Oh, the Goat Man of Maryland. That's another. All of those were just local folklore legends that I had discovered while I was doing my research. So I just threw everything in.
Were there German people in this colony? Because the Schnellergeist is apparently two German words. Well, Geist is spirit, so
Yeah,
Schneller, I
yeah.
don't know. Fast, maybe.
I don't know if the German settlers were here actually in the 1650s, but I went ahead and threw them in anyway. I know they come in the 1700s, but I went ahead and threw them in because I also have like German heritage. So I wanted to throw something of that in there with the German hex magic and stuff. So I wanted to make some kind of mention of it. So that's where I went off of historical accuracy and just started throwing in things that seemed fun to do.
Well, if you're writing fantasy, you're always going to throw something in, right?
Right.
If not, it's just historical.
Yeah, and that's what I like. Like, it's kind of like I start historical, but then anything goes.
So how many adventures? 4 adventures in this, in the colony
Like
of that?
four short
adventures, yeah.
adventures.
Do you want to give us a synopsis of?
Sure. The first one, St. Mary's Shoemaker, takes place in the main city of St. Mary's. So that kind of gives you a little overview of what's in the town and a couple of the townsfolk and businesses or whatever. And then there's a mission you can get involved in, a murder investigation. And then the main adventure is Hell's Bell, where you travel up the Potomac River and discover this village where it's involving the Hexen Wolf and the Snallygaster. And that's kind of the bigger adventure. And then there's the Hand and Eye of Loki, that kind of deals with Viking settlement and mounds. There's mounds around here, like old Indian mounds, or they were built before the Indians. So I wanted to throw some of that in there. So there's an adventure dealing with a mound. And then, of course, a witch burning. You have to have a witch burning thrown in there. So those were just little simple adventure ideas to kind of show you what you can do with the colony. And of course, I just kept them simple because I'm like, I make stuff for the DM. You can flesh it out and add your own stuff to it. So I don't want to lock it down too much. So I just kind of gave some ideas of what you can do with it.
Yeah, without too much specification, so you can do things at your own rhythm. So, and the Doom that came to Chapman Farm is an extra adventure that you can use.
Yeah, with that, some people who got Colony of Death suggested, hey, you should make a series or do more in that. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. So I just, did another adventure specifically set in the colony.
Yeah, the Raise of the Logomorphs. And I was looking at that one today because I hadn't looked at it yet. But when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I want to run this. That can be take place in any colony, right?
Yeah,
in any place, actually.
I think I said it in England, but yeah, you could put it anywhere. I'm currently running it in Maryland right now, so you can totally put it wherever you want. And that's one you could throw that in your D&D game if you wanted, or I mean, any of these could be converted over to any other system or setting if you put the work into it. But the Lagomorphs definitely could be a fantasy adventure.
I love that one. When I saw it, I was like, why didn't Miguel bought it right away?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I think you didn't notice it. Yeah.
Or no, I didn't. I didn't know about that one, but maybe I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, I put the Raz of the Lagomorphs and the Chapman Farm. I put them out at the same time, and it definitely seems like Chapman Farm got a little more attention, I guess, because it was tied to the Colony of Death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the Lagomorphs is a fun adventure.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it on my Bastard Adventure.
I think this is basically compatible with Ratchet. The only thing that could change should be armor class, but this is how it called, the one that the higher the better. It's
Yeah,
the
that's
same thing.
Lamentations starts you at 12 AC rather than
Yeah.
10 AC in most games. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I like
I
about
use 10,
OSR
but it's not.
games.
Yeah, it's not terribly different. It's similar. So it starts at 12. We start at 10, but yeah, it's basically
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff you just can convert on the fly in the middle of the game while you're playing.
Yeah. So we could use these ones with our game, so it would be very easy to adapt. And of course, this is just because it's in Maryland, it could be somewhere else.
Yes, it can be in Riget. It can be
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to start writing scenarios?
Well, when I started getting into the OSR stuff, I saw that there was all kinds of third-party homemade stuff out there. So I figured, why not? I've been playing for 30 years. I might as well throw something out there and see if anybody likes it. So I started doing that about, I think it was 2019 when I put something out, and then I've been doing it ever since. It's fun.
And Colony of Death is from 2020. So was this the first one?
Well, yeah, that's the first one that I think I released in print, but Place of the Skull I actually wrote first, and it was up on my blog for a while before I decided to try to format it and put it in book form. So I think Place of the Skull and Witch Shack I wrote first, but they got released a little bit later. And once Lulu started doing the A5 saddle stitch format, because I was like, yeah, they're small enough to put in that form. And the Colony of Death is the only one that's not the right size. Because when I got that made, they didn't have the A5 size available at the time. So eventually I'm going to redo that one and make it the right size.
We don't use A5 also. I don't know. Really, I can't remember why, but we use a different size, a little bit larger than A5.
Yeah, Colony of Death is 6x9, I think. And there are a lot of OSR books that are that size, but all the Lamentations books are A5. So I don't know. I just want them all to be the same so they fit on the shelf right.
Yeah. It's better. Though I think the being a little larger than A5, maybe it's better because well, it enhances a bit illustrations and all that. But anyway, it's A5. It works. Yeah. People like small books, right? They are easier to store in the shelves.
I don't think we feel that guilty with A5 books.
Yeah, I used to not like the digest size, but now I'm like, yeah, these are actually better. They're much smaller. You can fit them on your shelf, and now I like the smaller size.
Yeah, it happened the same thing to me when I was buying the mainstream commercial stuff. I just got used to the large books, so it's, to me, it was the regular size for a role-playing game. Digest size was for a novel.
If you have to throw your stuff in a bag and go somewhere to play, like carrying a bunch of hardcover D&D books is a little bit heavy.
Yeah, that's right. Those big books with the hard covers, they are heavy.
Yeah, they're nice to have on the shelf, but not very good to carry around.
Yeah.
So are you working on something right now?
Yeah, I'm working on the White Star role-playing game is a science fiction for science fiction OSR, and me and my brother have been running games in that and coming up with stuff like all year long. We've been working on a book, so hopefully before the end of the year that will be out. That's the White Star RPG. That's a BXO D&D based, but it's science fiction. So we have a whole book coming out for that, like a planetary setting with new classes, monsters, and everything that goes along with it for the White Star system. So hopefully that'll be out before the end of the year is out. That's the big project I've been doing this year.
I never played White Star, but it's kind of popular, right?
Yeah, I like it. It's a pretty cool system. I mean, it's just like all these other OSR BX games, so it's totally compatible. But it kind of covers like every science fiction trope you can think of. If you want to do Star Wars, Star Trek, anything you can think of, you could do it with this game. So we had a lot of fun with it, and we really like it. So we wanted to do something for it.
That's probably the most popular science fiction game, right? In the OSR. Yeah, well, in this not the OSR probably, but in this kind of rule set, the BX. There aren't many
The
science fiction.
The other one that I hear about, but I've never messed with, is Stars Without Number. That's
Mhm.
a popular one.
That's a big one. But I think that's not BX, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know much about it. I thought it might be some kind of BX, but I don't know.
I'm also not sure, but I think I browsed through it. It was something else, I think, but I'm not sure.
And then Traveler, I've never played Traveler, but I've always heard about it.
Yeah, that's also a classic.
Yeah.
We played it just a little bit. Though
We did characters mostly. Well,
I had already played Traveler some years ago, 20 years ago, but we did play recently, and I bought the Cepheus rules, several books for Cepheus, which is not exactly Traveler, but a retro clone, and it's also very popular. We interviewed the author, so it's the usual thing. We always end up buying books from people we interview, even if we don't play them.
We the guy that makes White Star, James M. Spawn, we started talking with him and kind of became friends with him. So that's another cool thing about the OSR is like you can talk right to the artists and publishers and writers, and next thing you know, you're running a game with them or working on a project or something. So it's pretty cool.
yeah, and you just I'm writing something for this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know his name.
We told him we were going to do something and he was all for it.
I know his name, James Spann, but I don't think I've met him on social media. I'm not sure. Is he somewhere?
I don't know. He's in the White Star group. I told him about Lamentations, and then he said he was getting into that. So I don't know if he's in those groups or not.
Yeah, the name is familiar, but probably it's familiar because I've seen it on the book itself.
Yeah.
On drive-through, probably. I don't remember seeing him around on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Even though sometimes people use different names, so it could be, he may be there, but with a different name. I don't know.
I think he does more like OD&D stuff. And the White Star is based on OD&D, but yeah, I don't know where he's at on there, but he's out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going, from the 16th century into science fiction.
Yeah, I mean, I like all that stuff. So I just happened to be doing 16th century because that's what the Lamentations default setting was. But me and my brother, I've been playing with him since all these years as well. And we had come up with our own worlds back when we were kids. And we, now that we have role-playing games, we started trying to flesh out some of that stuff, some of those ideas from when we were younger. And anything I do with him is under the Wood Planet Gaming Lodge banner. And so that'll be this new project will be coming out like that. But yeah, we're just trying to recreate our childhood, I guess, in role-playing games. And we like sci-fi, horror, historical, Western, we'll do all that stuff.
The sci-fi, this setting you are doing is a space opera or something more realistic?
Yeah, it's space opera. Anything goes pretty much. Space wizards and aliens and all that. Totally
original, or you're inspired by something?
Yeah, this is our original setting, but of course it's inspired by everything we've ever been into. But it's kind of it's a planet. It's got its own race and everything. So we made up all the stuff, but all the fluff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, original setting.
What about horror? Are you planning to go into horror as well?
Well, I consider some of this Lamentation stuff is a little bit horror, but
yeah.
And I've always liked Cthulhu, but I always found it hard to kind of write like a horror mystery type thing. Like some of them good Cthulhu games were like a mystery and you had to find the clues. It's kind of hard to write that and make it good, but who knows? I don't know what I'll get into next. I might do another sci-fi setting with the White Star. I might do another Lamentations adventure, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could do anything. Depends what strikes me.
Emulating the Call of Cthulhu style is really difficult. I don't do that anyway, so it's I usually do horror, but I have a different approach to it, not exactly a mystery. But sometimes it's a mystery, but I don't do murder mysteries, and that's the difficult part, that you have to figure the way the characters are going to find the clues and what they are going to.
Yeah, and
choose.
you might put a bunch of work into it, and then your players just come in and murder hobo through the place.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you,
Well, there's always the monsters, right? Zombie stuff and all that. It turns things a little bit easier to work with than the mysteries.
Yeah, I'm trying to write that, but yeah, it's hard. I don't think I wrote a murder mystery proper yet. It's hard.
I don't know which the closest, perhaps the one that was banned from drive-through, maybe the Sexual Holocaust, maybe the closest to a murder mystery, though it's mostly demons. But yeah, it's kind of a murder mystery. So what are you running, playing or running? Besides?
right now I'm actually running the Maryland stuff with my dad and my brother. So I'm putting them through like everything I wrote, because they know I wrote stuff, but they didn't get to play through it. So I'm putting them through that stuff right now. And I'm also running Swords and Wizardry. I just got into that system, which is like an OD&D clone, and I'm using that to run some Greyhawk. So I got 2 games going right now.
So was your dad a role player, or just something
Yeah,
like this? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a funny story with my dad, because he's like, country boy, listens to Hank Williams Jr. and hunts and stuff. But we got him in. He always liked Dark Shadows and Star Trek and Westerns. So we got him role playing with us back in the day, and he even started running games without ever knowing anything about D&D. He mapped out his mansion. He threw in like we were playing like secret agent stuff, but he threw in this guy's a vampire, and so he kind of brought the supernatural element to our games way back in the day before we even did. So he just kind of naturally took to it, and over all these years we get him into games. He's run games. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I got my dad, my brother's kids. We got the whole family playing sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool.
I couldn't imagine my dad running the game.
Yeah.
That's probably unusual. I don't know.
Well, my dad also has made homemade horror movies for like the last 15 years. So he's not the typical dad, I guess, but we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's well, it's probably an age thing as well. I don't know. Maybe you're probably younger than we are. I don't know.
Yeah, we're about, I guess, 22 years in difference.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he plays our games with us, and we make movies with him, and yeah, we just have a good old time being nerdy hillbillies.
So we have someone watching now.
Yeah.
Doodle Squatch. Well, I don't know if someone else is here, but if someone wants to
ask anything, so
our guest, so it's an option if you want to. It's probably, well, it's a Saturday morning. People are doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe sleeping.
Yeah, probably sleeping. We have that problem with our schedules. Most people that we interviewed up to now, I think most were American, right?
Yeah, and will continue to be probably.
Yeah, very, very likely. So there's always this problem. It's either too late or too soon or too. It's not easy. And even when we are doing our own videos, it's not that easy to get people to watch us.
At least that way we have an excuse.
Yeah, our excuse
Just
is
because of the hour.
it's not a good hour for people to watch us.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. Sometimes I'll put up something. I'm like, well, I just did that in the middle of the night, so probably nobody's going to see it. And by the time morning comes, it'll be pushed way down the feed, and you won't even catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem. But we started doing live streams just because I don't like editing videos. So
Yeah.
doing a live stream gets that part away.
Oh, Little Squash is asking if you have a YouTube channel.
No, I mean, I have one, but I don't really use it for anything really. I put up stuff personally sometimes, but I've thought about using that. I know a lot of people use YouTube to promote their stuff or, do what you guys are doing, do reviews, interviews. And me and my brother with the Wood Planet Gaming Lodge, he did an interview with me and we did like an introduction. So we have a YouTube channel and a website for the Wood Planet Gaming Lodge, but he's real busy and, we just don't use it as much, but it's there and we plan to use it sometimes. I don't know. I'm not going to become a full-time YouTuber or anything, but the option is there.
Yeah, it's like us. It's just, a side job to the role-playing thing.
Yeah.
It's useful for promotion. Our promotion and also for the interviews, which is also promotion, but more open to other people. But I don't really like that doing that, talking about stuff. Just talking about stuff. It's not.
Yeah, talking about
Sometimes you
stuff
do it
for the sake of talking about stuff. Like I only want to do a review if it's something I'm actually into or, something I'm really interested in, then I'll do it. But it has to strike me to want to do it. I don't want to just do reviews for the sake of reviews or something like that. Because when you're doing YouTube, it's all about, you got to get that content out there. And I'd rather go work on a new mission or something than spend too much time on the internet.
Yeah, that's true. We started growing our audience at the beginning because when we started, we weren't publishing yet. We were just doing interviews. So
yeah, we did tons of interviews at the beginning.
The audience grew, there were more followers, but then it stopped because we started doing mostly promotion. But I guess it's all right. People who watch, they usually want to see what we are talking about. So it's good. We don't need that many viewers. That's not the point. Also because when you do interviews, I just put the links everywhere so they get views anyway. Not necessarily our followers, but people who are interested in watching the interview. So that's good.
Yeah. And I've definitely used YouTube to, find stuff. So it's definitely a useful way to promote.
Yeah, it's good. I don't think we could be selling. We aren't selling that much, but we wouldn't be selling as much as we are if we didn't start the channel before. It helped us a lot. I'm sure of that. It has been good for promotion. Very good for promotion.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm just going from Facebook to Twitter and sharing links and stuff. But sometimes, a video, people want to see stuff or hear somebody talking.
Yeah, show the book is also important. We don't show them all, but showing a bit of it, it's good. People are curious.
I would prefer to do reviews on writing, but people don't know how to read. They want to see videos.
Yeah, and I have a blog too, but I haven't really messed with it in the last year or so because I've been just doing other stuff, but it's still there and occasionally I'll post something on it. That was another thing. I started a blog first and then kind of worked. I was releasing some material on that and then got into actually writing modules.
I also started the interviews for a blog, which is now our site, but there weren't many views. People like to read, but not this. This in particular, probably they prefer to.
Yeah, apparently like I got like 17 followers on the blog, which isn't very many, but apparently the blogging thing was bigger a couple years back. I missed all the OSR of the 2010s. Like I didn't even know anything about it until here recently, which is kind of weird. But apparently there was this whole community like with Google Plus community. Everybody talks about the days of the Google Plus.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was over there, but didn't know about the OSR. So I totally missed the whole that era.
My experience with Google Plus was that nothing was happening there.
Yeah. That's
And
kind
when
of
people say, you know, where?
I never understood it.
The MeWe site. I got stuff over there too, but it just seems dead most of the time.
Yeah, maybe that. I think that one is well, not entirely that, but it's not that much busy. It's not really busy. It's not like Facebook.
No, yeah. Because I thought about getting rid of Facebook, but then I'm like, how will I promote my stuff?
Yeah.
Like everybody's on Facebook, so Facebook and Twitter, and I hate Twitter, but I use it. I just use all my social media for gaming related stuff.
I also hate Twitter. I convinced Sylvia to do some tweeting, so we could promote it.
So you don't have to do that much tweeting, though you probably do
now
a
I
bit
started
more because I'm there.
Yeah, I started tweeting more because now we are both doing promotion and tweeting.
And you start talking to people is different. When you're not just screaming into the void.
Yeah, it's you have to interact, so or else no one sees what you're writing. So
yeah, that was another thing. I didn't really make friends on the internet until I started getting into the OSR, and now I've made a lot of friends. I've played with people online and met some really cool people. So it's like that's kind of neat. I never I was like, internet friends aren't real people, but I'm like, oh, now I've met some cool people. So
and you have something in common, so it's the role playing.
Yeah,
it's an important side to it. So how did you find out about OSR? You mentioned several times that it was
I was playing 5e and I was like, I don't like how super powered everybody is, and I wanted to bring it down. So I was looking at ways to make 5e more old school. And then I was like, why don't I just play an old school game? And I knew there were retro clones out there, so I started looking into them. And then I bought the Lamentations book, and I've been hooked ever since.
So how long was that? How long ago was that?
Like I think the beginning of 2019. So it's pretty recent.
Yeah, pretty recent. Yeah. So that means that before you didn't play independent games, right? You were more.
I mean, we did Call of Cthulhu. The rule system for that is called basic role playing. And we just use basic role playing to do everything: fantasy, superheroes, Wild West. And I love that system, but I started getting bored with everything. It's a percentage dice skill-based system, but it's like, it's a great system, but we were doing it for everything. And I kind of got tired of it. So, and then finding the OSR stuff, like that fixed all the problems with D&D. Nobody's superheroes anymore. They got 6 hit points, and if you do stupid stuff, you're going to die. Like, I like that.
And it's not just the system, right? It's also the setting, the new stuff for D&D, the Radiant Citadel, and
yeah. I don't know what that crap is. I like the old Greyhawk. You know, Greyhawk is classic. We've been re-exploring some old Greyhawk stuff. And recently, I backed that Lost Dungeons of Tannisberg. That stuff.
Me too.
Yeah,
I was trying to
really
resist it, but yeah, I backed this on this last one.
Yeah, so that's really cool. I want to get in, like, what were them guys doing back in the day, old school stuff like that. I just love that stuff.
It will probably take a long time to get here, the book, right?
Yeah, I don't even think about that, because I also bought Hyperborea recently. Yeah. And it's gonna come from the States.
It's kind of boring unless you pay the most expensive option when it's available, because sometimes it's not even available. It takes a long time to get here. Even the proof copies, when I order them from Drive-Thru and Lulu, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah,
That's
that's
one of the things that annoys me with Lamentations, and I know Ragni has a lot of issues with the printing it in the US, but is that some of the things that I want to buy are only available in the US site now.
yeah.
And I was like, what the hell do I do? Why aren't they in Europe?
Yeah, he's got two different stores and different stuff in different ones. And I've even ordered I ordered from Finland and the thing got here in 2 days. And then I ordered from the US and it was 2 weeks. So explain that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Doodle Squatch is asking if you have a favorite VTT.
VTT?
It's virtual tabletop.
Yeah, I don't really do that. When we play
But I
online,
don't see that one.
Well,
Strange.
it's here.
The last one I see is I miss Google Plus. Ah, now I already have it. I
a lot
refreshed
of
it.
a lot of people miss Google Plus. I also I missed it. I really missed it. It went by. I never
I
used it.
think we got to have a Google Plus account. I had a Google Plus account,
I
but
had an account, but I
nobody was there.
and then I couldn't understand how it worked, so I just ignored it. But people who play role-playing games talk a lot about it, and that the good old days of
Yeah, the good old days of Google Plus.
yeah, yeah.
But I wasn't playing at the time, so.
But
it
you
was
know
my-
that I think the two people that were playing with us back in the day, they were on Google Plus.
They were, but I don't think we. Well, yeah, that was. There was a time when I was a journalist, so I didn't have much time for role-playing games. So it was basically sometimes I played, but it was I could stop playing and months would go by. So I think there were a couple of years I never played anything. So there was it was 10 years when there was not much going on, and those were the days of Google Plus. So that's why I never used it. But I heard a lot about it after it was gone.
Yeah, and as far as virtual tabletop, I don't really use any Roll20 or anything. When we role play online, lately we've just been using Discord.
We use Zoom. It's not really made for this, but I don't mind using physical dice instead of something else. And if I want to share the screen, I can share the screen. So
Yeah, like
Oh,
we still use our own dice, like I trust the people I'm playing with. One time I did do a campaign on, the guy was running it on Zoom and it worked pretty well.
I
The
think so.
Discord, you can throw up a map or something in the text chat. We just keep it simple.
Yeah, we used Roll20 and I hated it.
No, Roll20 is awful. That the audio-visual part of it, I don't like it. The little boxes where the image, where the people who are playing. So for maps, it's probably good because the map is a large space, but then the image of the players and the game master, it's terribly small, even in a large screen. I don't like that.
Yeah, and I feel like I'd be fiddling with the technical side of it too much. I just want to get in there and play, and I like, hand-drawn maps, and I can just share it in or scan it or take a picture and share it in the group. But I prefer to play face-to-face at the table whenever possible. But my brother lives down in Virginia, so the only way I get to play with him is over the internet. So we make it work, but we just keep it simple.
Yeah, I would prefer to to play face to face, but it's also not possible right now because we can't. It's difficult to.
But I'm used to it now. It takes less space. We don't have that much space at our place now with all the cats.
Yeah, that's true. We have 4 cats now, and that would probably be a problem. The cats start jumping on the table and
Batting dice
playing with the
now.
dice. Yeah,
Eating
it's
minis.
terrible. It's terrible. Well, they don't use minis, but the dice would be terrible. Even just the two of us, we still get attacked by the cats. So it's
Yeah, there was a time that we did use some experience with minis when we were playing. Was it Cyberpunk? Or when we were changing different games?
Mutant
in Mutant Chronicles. There was only 2 cats at that time.
Yeah, now with more cats, and the little ones are playful, so it's difficult. It would be difficult to have visitors throwing dice. It's basically an invitation to play. So do you have a favorite game, or is it Lamentations? Maybe.
Yeah, right now Lamentations is pretty cool. I'm getting into Swords and Wizardry kind of. I'm really liking that. It's the old system. It's got level limits and class restrictions and stuff. And I've never played with those or used them. Everybody I ever played with was like, ignore stuff like that. But I'm doing it rules as written just to see how it plays out. And I'm really liking it. So right now I'm doing Swords and Wizardry, White Star for the sci-fi, and Lamentations. They're my favorites right now.
I don't think I know Swords and Wizardry. That's from who is the publisher for that?
It's the Matt Finch guy that did Osric.
Oh yeah.
Let me see. It was Frog God Games, but I think he's doing his own thing now called Mythmere, and they're going to do another edition of it. But I got the Frog God Games box set, and it's pretty cool.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
I think doesn't Eric Fabiashi sometimes talk about that one, or is it
Castles
another
and
one?
Crusades, I think.
Oh,
I think so, but I may be wrong.
I think this is supposed to be OD&D/1 D&D, so it's got race and class, but it's pretty much the old system.
Yeah, I like having both. Just it's kind of weird when being a dwarf is a class.
Yeah, well,
that's one of the things I don't like about Lamentation. Well, because that's the original rules.
Right. That was something I never thought I would like, but once I started playing Lamentations, I just like went with it, and it's like, yeah, it's okay. I like it. It's for certain things, like for the Greyhawk game, we do have races and classes, but it's still got these limitations. Like a dwarf can only be a fighter or a fighter thief. He can't be a mage or a cleric or anything.
Well, that makes sense. So there's limitations for races; they can't do some stuff, but the weird thing is what do you do in life? I am a dwarf.
Yeah. If you think of it as like an occupation, it's like,
yeah, it's strange.
As
a fighter, as a mage, and as a dwarf. So what do you do, white dwarf?
In the end, you have two fighters, because the dwarf is a fighter.
Yeah, it's a fighter.
Though we should also be able to be a smith.
Well, and that's what I like about Lamentations. They have that skill system, and I came up with a little way where other classes could use the skills too. So if you can have a dwarf who can sneak around, or these skills give them some other things to do.
You can also.
Yeah, I like having skills. Not just having the class also, yeah.
Yeah. It gives you a little bit makes him a little more diverse in his abilities.
Exactly, especially if you have a big group. That is not our case, but your fighter doesn't have to be always the same type of fighter.
Yeah, and right now we have like the guys don't have a thief in the party, so you get to a door, and how are we gonna open the door?
Yeah, it's probably even worse when the group is small.
Yeah, because my guys, I usually have 3 players. And, most of these modules, a lot of these old school modules are like 6 to 8 players. I'm like, that's way too many. So I'll just have my 3 guys make 2 characters. And that's another thing with these OSR systems. It's so easy to run 2 characters, where I would never try to do that in 5th edition. You'd be overwhelmed with abilities and powers and stuff. But in OSR games, we can run 2 or 3 guys. It's not a problem.
So you usually have a small group, right?
Yeah.
I think that's I don't know how people can manage those 10 people groups. I think it's
that's crazy to me. Even I've had like 8 people, but that was like a special occasion, like a Christmas game or something, where I had a bunch of people over, and that was fun, but I would never try to run a campaign like that.
Yeah,
I've had 4 or 5 people is okay, but it's a little chaotic. I find 3 people is the perfect number. I got 3 players and then the DM. We can all fit around the table. We can all hear each other, and it seems like we get more into role playing and get more stuff done when it's a smaller group.
In a very large group, most of the people are not playing.
Yeah, it's just procedural. It's your turn. Roll your dice. Take your turn.
Well, they do have those this is the guy who does the maps. That's the guy who is the
Keeps
I
the
don't know.
timer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the other
we've
one
never
keeps
done
something
that.
else. But I really that seems a bit strange for me. I think
Well,
I probably the largest group I had it was 6 people, maybe not more than that.
yeah.
And even that was a rare thing to happen. Now we have 3 people.
And
It's
I've heard those stories where Gary Gygax would sit behind a wall to DM, so you couldn't even see the DM, and then one person had to tell him what the group was doing. Like that's crazy. We've never done it that way.
that's a strange thing.
Yeah, but I think they were also discovering things right at the time and experimenting.
Yeah, definitely. They were trying stuff out.
We have another question. This one
Yeah.
is for everybody. If we like the D6 system, dropping big piles of dice is so satisfying. Do you like? Well, I know you've played it because you mentioned Star Wars, right? It was the West End Games version.
Yeah.
I liked it. It's still popular, the system, right?
Yeah, it was fun back in the day. I remember rolling handfuls of D6s, but overall, it's, you know, you got to stop and count up all these dice. But other than that, it was fun. But I don't typically use that system. We do play it occasionally, just for you know, for the nostalgia of it. We'll throw out a D6 game occasionally, but yeah, if you have to stop and add up all the dice, was the, you know, that's the thing. It kind of
Yeah.
slowed it down, but it was fun. You sit there and those they had those wild exploding dice. If you rolled a 6, you kept rolling. That was fun back in the day.
I think my experience with Bucket of Dice was actually with Modifius with the D20 system. But it were the D60s for damage, the
Yeah.
special dices.
It's one of those games that has special dice. Most people
Yeah,
don't
I
like special
don't like
dice.
those games
Yeah.
with the special dice. Like, I already have so many dice. Let me use the ones I already have.
Yeah, most people don't like it.
You
That's
can use the
that-
normal ones, but then you have to translate because they are D60,
Yeah,
D6 dices
There's
anyway.
there's a reason for that, so you have to buy the dice
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But in that case, I bought the games because I wasn't interested in the setting itself, not really the system. I didn't like the system. I hated the system.
Yeah, I think we got used to it for a time, but then
I
don't want to play it again.
No. I would go
The
back to that.
old Shadowrun was a bunch of D6s. I don't remember the system exactly, but it was all D6s.
I only played Shadowrun once or twice. I don't really remember, but yeah, that was well. And that I think in the 90s, most games had lots of dice. Vampire and all the White
I was
Wolf
going to
games.
mention Vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had buckets of dice as well. But
Yeah, Vampire was D10.
D10, yeah, D10. And there
But,
was that game Exalted. I think that one is you played the D My God or something like that. That one.
Once Wizards came out, everything went to D20.
Mhm.
Because in the 2000s, everything was D20 compatible.
Yeah. That well, now there are more options for D20s, probably because of that.
Yeah, we have a comment from RPG Overviews. Hello. Having a speaker for the group is good for a large amount of players, so people aren't all trying to talk to the DM.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That can also overload the DM.
That's what we were talking.
Yeah.
If you have large groups, you have to appoint some jobs to the players so they can so things can work. If perhaps even having 2 game masters, that could be a thing. I think I tried once having not really 2 game masters, but having a person doing something else to create a different kind of situation, but not because there were many players, but just to do something different. One game master played some NPCs and the other played others. It could be interesting for something that was for kind of political intrigue and that kind of things.
Yeah.
That's more into role playing and than combat. But I never tried having speakers, or also because I didn't need to.
Yeah.
That's something that it's only needed when there are many players. For smaller groups, you don't need it, of course.
I don't think I could handle more than 4 players.
It's probably something
It's chaotic.
In the worst case scenario, someone loses interest and starts doing something else, because that's another thing that's sometimes happens, especially when we're playing online.
Oh yeah, people on their phones is a pet peeve of mine.
I had players who draw the whole gaming session. They were just drawing.
And
Sometimes,
you had players that fall asleep.
yeah, that happened. That's not really a good advertising. People fall asleep at my table.
It was just the one guy, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there was one guy that sometimes fell asleep. He was a bit of a boring guy, so it wasn't my fault. It was his.
Well, at least he's not disrupting the game.
Yeah, when he was asleep, he wasn't.
Oh, actually, we did have someone. I was forgetting about Anna. We had a friend of mine that come play, and yeah, she basically fell asleep. And then when she was awoke, she would disturb the game.
Yeah, but she didn't really want to play. She was just.
She used to play when she was younger, and she liked the idea of playing, and she thought she wanted to play.
That's something that sometimes happens. People that really don't enjoy role-playing games, but well, it happens usually when we are inviting people for the first time. They show up, and then this is not really what I thought about.
Yeah.
Even though, nowadays it's kind of popular, right? 20 years ago, nobody knew what Dungeons and Dragons was or role-playing games. But then there were those TV shows that talked about Dungeons and Dragons, basically. So
Yeah.
It's a bit popular now. Also because of wrong reasons, like how's it called, that Matt Mercer thing?
The Matt Mercer effect. Yeah.
That's probably a bad thing. I've only watched a bit of those shows, but it doesn't really seem like a gaming session going on.
Yeah, it's very cringy to me, but if that's what you like, I guess.
Yeah, but it seems like they basically wrote that and just reading stuff. It doesn't look natural.
Right. Because in a real game, it's a lot less organized and it's chaotic. Yeah. People are arguing and things,
RPG overview says first con game I ran and I immediately fell asleep, but it was an early morning game. So yeah, okay, my convention maybe. Well, it maybe the people are playing there for hours without stopping. Do you usually go to conventions, Mark?
No, I've never been to one. And nowadays they seem like I would never want to go to Gen Con. It's just too many people and too much cosplay going on. Like when I heard about VentureCon, where they were like, it was about 25 people and everybody was role playing, that sounded interesting to me, but yeah, I've never been to one. So I don't usually like large crowds and stuff. I'm antisocial.
The place where you live, there are no conventions there?
We had one. Actually, there was a convention. I don't know if it's still going on, but I did go to one convention. It was a local one in West Virginia, and we went and played some Call of Cthulhu. And the biggest thing was there's so many people in there, it's hard to hear the DM. Mm-hmm. But that's the only one I went to. It was fun, but yeah, you got to spend money to get there, and then you want to spend money while you're there. And like I said, I don't like large crowds of people. It's not really my thing, but if I had the opportunity, I'd go to one if it was a cool one, a small, low key.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a VentureCon again this year. Well, next year.
Yeah, he's just kind of far away from me, but that one sounded like it'd be up my alley.
Yeah, some people were saying, "Oh, we had almost nobody. It's a failure," but yeah, 25 people looks very reasonable for me.
Where is VentureCon?
Like Wisconsin or something, in the middle of the country.
In the middle of the country, yeah. Okay, so it's far. Yeah.
But yeah, 25 people who are actually meeting each other and talking and getting to know each other and role playing.
That seems like a good number.
Yeah, that seems rather than thousands of people when you're not going to talk to any of them.
Exactly. So I think most cons right now are just for making money.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't really even like gaming in public spaces.
Yeah, I don't play at stores and stuff.
Yeah.
Years ago when we were playing, we played a couple minis tournaments at a store, and it just wasn't my thing.
I don't know for that kind of game, but a role-playing game, that's a problem that's too noisy. And if someone else on the table next to you is playing, and then people talking about different things and different stories and different characters and probably different genres.
Yeah, and then you also have people coming in shopping.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Play.
also that, yeah.
Yeah, we were in a, well, it wasn't recently, it was before COVID, on an encounter that people have here, the Lisbon role playing. It's not in a store, it's in a small mall, in the coffee area. We just went there because Miguel had sold some books, and we went to deliver it
Deliver
to
the
the
books,
people. Yeah, but it was a lot of noise because people were drinking coffee, other people were drinking coffee, and in the shop, and it was really
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah.
Stuffy and noisy. I couldn't concentrate as a game master, I think. Well, probably you can get used to it.
Well, and the people I play with, they cuss, they smoke. We can't have that in public. And that's why I don't stream games. They said something about streaming games. I was like, well, you guys would have to tone down. You have to censor yourselves. And they're like, oh, well, never mind then. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to bother with it. I'm not going to edit all that stuff out.
Yeah, we can just say that for a mature audience.
Yeah.
I think swear
I don't know, but you can stream. We have been cursing in YouTube.
No, that's no problem. It's not monetized. I think it's no one.
If you don't care about the monetization, then go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever get there. So it's. I'm
But
not.
I think it would be. I don't know if I wanted to annoy people with the commercials.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
Would we ever make enough money that it would that I would want to annoy people with the commercials? I don't think so.
Actually, I have no idea how much do you earn from YouTube commercials. So I don't know if it's a large amount. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think unless you have a lot of followers, it doesn't really make much difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's. I don't know if it's.
Yeah, we have a question in the chat.
No, it's not a question. It's just
No,
a
we do
comment.
have a question.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Dildo Squad. I was just waiting for us to have a part in the conversation.
So, do you prefer story-driven games or sandbox games?
I would say sandbox games. Let the players just kind of do their thing and roll out the consequences.
Yeah.
I like that emergent story, like a story came out of what we were doing, but I don't plan out a story or anything.
Yeah, I like the sandbox, but it's like a story seed. So there's story seeds everywhere, and the players can decide what to pick.
They can pick up and follow what they want, and then, I like the idea that whatever we did last session, that's the story, and that's what we have to play off of, like the fallout from whatever you did last session. So stories come out of it, but yeah, I got some locations, I got some ideas for stuff I want y'all to get into, and then just let the players pick and choose where they go and how the stuff plays out. That's part of the fun, is all the randomness of seeing how this stuff goes. Like with the Raz of the Lagomorphs, I got the random effects of when do things happen and how bad is it, and it plays out differently every time.
When you played Call of Cthulhu, did you use published adventures?
We did published and we did our own stuff. Once we were like set up in Arkham, and once you get into several sessions, like the players then like have stuff that they're invested in and things they want to do. So some nights I just let the players do their town stuff and just let them get into things, and then I'd throw in a published scenario, and then I would throw in something that we were kind of had in the background or whatever. So a little bit of both.
I was asking because most of those published scenarios, those were very story driven, usually.
Yeah.
Most of them were, at least.
I just recently got that kickstarted that classic Call of Cthulhu box set, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, some of the adventures are weird, but like we were trying to do it like a campaign. So like every week we're back in Arkham, and my characters had their own businesses and different things. So some days it would be a published scenario, some days it was an original scenario, some days I just let them do stuff, and that would take up the whole session.
Yeah, when we were playing the Mutant Chronicles campaign, I think that one of the problems of it that it was story driven, and we ended up only doing what was in the book. And I was like, why would I have to make up something for myself? I know things are about to happen.
Yeah, that's true. No, usually, commercial games have campaigns that are very story driven. If the characters don't do anything, if the players don't decide anything, things will happen anyway. So it's kind of
some of those like the 5e stuff. It was like a little mini campaign every time. Like you have to read this entire book, and then they may not even do half this stuff. But I felt like it was too locked in. Like I want a little more freedom. That's why I like small little supplements and short games that you can just throw into what you're already doing, instead of all right, now we have to go do this entire campaign or whatever, and you're not locked into it. So short campaigns and episodic style is how I like to do it.
Yeah, the part that the game master has to read it all, it's also kind of boring.
You have to read the adventure before you run the adventure, and I don't really want to read an entire giant rule book or a 500-page adventure. I like 16 pages, 32 pages, like those old school modules that you could read in an evening and be ready to play the next day.
Yeah, it's better that way. By the way, your next book, which is a setting, how many pages are you planning?
We're already up to 60 pages, and it's not done yet. So it should be bigger than Colony of Death.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a space setting, so you must have everything. It's not the Colony of Death is historical, so you just need to give a few things to start, but it's historical. Space setting, it's a space setting.
Yeah, when you do historical, the background, like I don't have to do the background, it's already out there. You just gotta go find it.
Yeah, that's the in the end it's a bit easier.
But that's why I made the timeline, because I figured a lot of people don't know anything about the 1600s. So I threw in, here's some little interesting things that you started.
And they have it all there. Exactly. They don't have to go look for things.
Right, unless you get inspired to on your own to go do your further research,
Do you have any more questions here? No.
We just have a comment about cons.
Gen Con is not nuanced enough. Too many games and game types. Gary Con was a great con when I went to it. Focused on old school games. Gary Con was this the one that the other guy was trying to?
No, this is Dave Con.
Oh, Dave, yeah, this is Gary Con.
Oh yeah,
Dave was trying to cancel Dave Con.
And then he was canceled. No, not actually canceled. He canceled himself to avoid legal troubles. Well, here we don't have really places to go. There's one con, and not much more than that.
But it's called Narrative Games Con, and for me that's a bit suspicious.
Yeah. It includes most people play story games, I think. Either story games or Dungeons and Dragons or vampires. I think vampire is still popular.
It became popular again.
Yeah, probably because 5th edition. It's also a 5th edition, like Dungeons and Dragons. Of course, Dungeons and Dragons is also popular and is always the most popular, I think. Even 5th edition. I don't think OSR is popular here. We know someone that played, a group that played OSR, but not much more.
But it was a large group in that case, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, for sure, the first time I heard of OSR was from them.
Yeah.
They were playing Pandits, Lion and Dragon, right?
Yeah, I think or they had played it recently, something like that. Okay, do you have more questions? I don't know. I can't remember anything.
No, I think I'm all dried out.
Well, if you want to add something else,
No, I don't have anything else.
any plans or something like that.
We got the White Star setting thing is going to come out sometime, hopefully by the end of the year. That's the goal. I think we're going to make it, but other than that, I don't know. Next year, I don't know what I'll work on, but we got the White Star thing coming out. That's the big one. And yeah, you can go find my stuff on Drive-Thru, Lulu, itch.io, and Big Geek Emporium. Just look up Mark Hess. And then we have the Wood Planet Gaming Lodge. I think that's just WPGL.com, where we have a couple, I think 2 or 3 episodes of a podcast. Like I said, we don't do it very regularly, but there's some stuff over there. And when this White Star thing comes out, it'll be under the Wood Planet Gaming Lodge banner.
I guess if you have a real job, it's difficult to release a lot of things, right?
Yeah, and my brother also is a priest, so he has church obligations that interfere with us getting together. But so this project with him has been interesting. So once I don't know if we'll do another thing, because like I said, he's really busy a lot. But we'll be getting this thing out, and then I don't know what my next project will be. Probably maybe another Lamentations thing, maybe something for Swords and Wizardry, just whatever strikes my inspiration or whatever.
So you don't like to plan far ahead?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing from 1 month to the next. And then I have some ideas that I've been working on here and there, but I don't know if I'll actually complete it or if I'll get back around to it, but I got some things on the back burner.
Yeah, now I have lots of things to think about because I'm just doing this, so it's different. So it's entirely different when you are doing so much stuff. You have to plan it more than before. But well, anyway, it's still even if you just release a couple of things a year, it's still interesting.
Yeah, well, you guys release stuff like at such a rate. I'm like, how do they do it? Like, I need to kick up my production a little bit here.
Yeah, well, we have lots of things that were written when I was publishing through Postmortem, which was last year. I had several adventures and a setting or 2 settings maybe that they weren't published, and then I thought, well, now I'm going to publish them through our own publisher. So there was a lot of work already done.
Oh, there you go. That's cool.
Yeah, that was the reason. I also republished some stuff that were, well, not republished because some things changed. The rules changed. There was 5 scenarios or 6.
Because they were for actual fucking monsters or punk.
Yeah. So they were redesigned for OSR, and that helped a lot. So I couldn't have published that many things if I was writing them this year.
Yeah,
Right.
even if you're just doing this full time.
Yeah, even full time. I've been working full time, about maybe 7 hours a day, sometimes on weekends as well. But even working all those hours, I couldn't have done 26 books in 6 months. That's a lot. It would be impossible. But I done 26 layouts, which is also that's what took most of the time, was doing the layouts. Though nowadays I'm using AI generated art, and that eases the work.
Yeah, I
So,
used AI generated art on the last one on the timeline, just because that was something that that was something I had just sitting around. It was something I was using for my game, and I was like, hey, I should clean this up and publish it. So I grabbed the AI art and threw it on there. And that was an unplanned thing. The timeline, I just kind of like, oh, I should put this out. And then if something comes up in a game or I flesh something out, who knows what may come about in the middle of a game that I decide I might want to do something with it.
Yeah, looking for art that fits what we are writing is always a bit of a problem. If you aren't doing commission art, stock art, well, it's stock art.
Yeah, and if you got something very specific, it's not going to cover it.
Yeah, that's it happened a lot with us before. We were using stock art, and I tend to use a lot of pictures for characters and all that, and it was starting to be a bit of a problem. It was harder and harder to find without repeating stuff that was previously used. So the A art helped a lot.
Yeah, for my covers, I've done, I did my own crappy art. I got somebody to do art one time. I used stock art or just that medieval art that was not copyrighted, and I've used AI art. So I've done every option that is available.
I didn't do my own art. I don't think it would work.
Your art would be very, very crappy, probably.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't like that.
Well, mine was very crappy, but I saw other people. I was like, hey, I've seen other people with worse art than this, so I'm going to do it anyway.
I think yours looks good enough.
Yeah, you went for that old school. So it works.
Yeah.
For old school type. They didn't have. I don't know who did the art in the very older books, but it wasn't that really good. It was not amateurish, but kind of.
Yeah,
simple.
just had to get the idea across. It doesn't have to be good.
Yeah, that's right.
Miguel used to draw when he was younger. That's why I don't think he would be happy with the crappy art.
No, I lost touch with drawing. I had some talent for that, but then I stopped practicing, so I couldn't. Now I wouldn't like to do my own art. It looks like crap. So okay. Well, unless there's something else here, no one asked any more questions.
Thank you for joining, Mark.
Yeah, thank you
for
for
having me, guys. It was really fun, and it was an honor to come be on the show.
So let's as always, we'll keep in touch and on social media.
Yep.
And maybe when you have another project, we can schedule another interview.
And we will stay tuned for the release of the White Star scenario.
All right. Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. Have a nice weekend, Mark.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.